The hidden laboratory. The maintenance shaft hummed with the familiar vibration of Kepler Station's life support systems. Dr. Sarah Chen squeezed through the narrow passage, her flashlight cutting through the darkness ahead. Behind her, Marcus. Rivera muttered something about whoever designed these access tunnels clearly never having to crawl through them themselves. Almost there, Sarah called back, checking her scanner. The energy readings are definitely coming from this section. Kepler Station had been humanity's first successful joint venture with an alien species. The Zephyrians, tall beings with crystalline skin and multiple limbs, had agreed to share basic energy research with Earth scientists. For 6 months, the collaboration had proceeded smoothly, if somewhat slowly. The Zephyrians seemed content to work on simple fusion improvements while the humans provided labor and enthusiasm. But Sarah had noticed something odd in the power consumption reports. Entire sections of the station were drawing massive amounts of energy, far more than any declared experiment required. When she'd asked Vexthal, the lead Zephyrian scientist, about it, he'd dismissed her concerns as computational errors in primitive human measuring devices. That dismissal had only made Sarah more curious. "Here," she whispered, stopping at a junction where her scanner was practically screaming with energy readings. "There's definitely something beyond this wall." Marcus squeezed up beside her, producing a sonic screwdriver from his toolkit. "Let me guess, they said this area was just storage?" "Environmental processing," Sarah corrected. "But look at these readings. This is more power than our main reactor puts out." The wall panel came away easily, revealing not storage or environmental equipment, but a vast hidden laboratory. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. The space beyond was filled with impossible geometry, surfaces that seemed to bend light itself, and at the center, a device that made her physicist's brain struggle to process what she was seeing. It looked like a mirror, but not quite. The surface rippled like water, reflecting not the room around it, but something else entirely. As Sarah watched, she saw what appeared to be a perfect copy of a Zephyrian crystal formation, materializing beside the original. Not a hologram or projection, but actual matter being created from nothing. "Sarah?" Marcus whispered, his voice tight with amazement. "What are we looking at?" Before she could answer, the lights in the laboratory suddenly blazed to life. Vexthal's distinctive crystalline form emerged from behind one of the impossible machines. His forearms spread in what Sarah had learned was a gesture of extreme agitation. "Humans should not be in this place." Vexthal's translator rendered his musical language into flat mechanical English. "This area is restricted for your own safety." Sarah stepped fully into the laboratory, her scientific curiosity overriding any sense of caution. "Safety? Vexthal, this is incredible. You're actually creating matter from quantum fluctuations. The energy requirements alone should be impossible with our current fusion setup." "You understand nothing of what you observe," Vexthal replied. But Sarah caught the slight harmonic shift that indicated uncertainty in his voice. "This is merely theoretical research. Simulations." Marcus had moved to examine one of the newly created crystal formations. "Pretty solid simulation," he said, tapping it with his screwdriver. "Mind explaining how you're getting around conservation of energy laws?" For the first time since Sarah had known him, Vexthal seemed at a loss for words. His crystalline skin flickered through several color phases before settling on a deep purple that Sarah had learned indicated deep thought or concern. "The quantum mirror technology is beyond human comprehension," he finally said. "Your species lacks the mathematical foundation to understand the principles involved." That was exactly the wrong thing to say to Sarah Chen, who had spent her doctoral thesis proving that quantum entanglement could be maintained across galactic distances. "Try me," she said, pulling out her tablet and beginning to take readings of the quantum field fluctuations around the mirror. "Dr. Chen, you must cease this investigation immediately," another voice said. Koltar, the Zephyrian security chief, materialized from what had appeared to be empty air. Unlike Vexthal's academic robes, Koltar wore form-fitting armor that seemed to bend light around its edges. "Cloaking technology too?" Marcus asked admiringly. "You guys have been holding out on us," Sarah was barely listening to the conversation. Her attention focused entirely on the readings her tablet was collecting. The quantum signatures were unlike anything in human science, but there were patterns here, mathematical relationships that seemed almost familiar. The harmonic resonance, she muttered, more to herself than to anyone else. It's creating standing waves in the quantum field, using them as a template for matter formation. But the frequency modulation is... She looked up suddenly, her eyes bright with understanding. You're using holographic principles, three-dimensional information stored in a two-dimensional surface, then projected into real space. Vexthal's skin flickered rapidly through the entire color spectrum. Impossible. Humans have no knowledge of holographic matter manipulation. Maybe not matter manipulation, Sarah admitted, but we've been working with holographic data storage for decades. The principles are the same, you've just found a way to make the holograms physically real. She was already sketching modifications on her tablet, her mind racing through possibilities. The instability problems you're having with larger objects, that's because you're trying to maintain perfect coherence across the entire holographic field. But if you introduce controlled decoherence zones, created a kind of quantum error correction system, the human is correct, Vexthal said quietly to Koltar, switching to a high-frequency language that their translators couldn't parse. But Sarah had been around Zephyrians long enough to recognize the harmonic patterns of surprise and grudging respect. Marcus, meanwhile, had been examining the power coupling systems. Sarah, look at this. They're drawing power directly from the station's main reactor, but they're doing it through what looks like jury-rigged connections. This whole setup looks like it was put together in a hurry. Because it was, Koltar said grimly. The quantum mirror project was deemed too dangerous for joint research. The decision was made to study it in secret until we could determine its safety. Too dangerous? Sarah looked up from her calculations. The applications for this technology are incredible. Medical treatments, manufacturing, space construction, food production for long-range missions. Why would you keep this secret? Because, Vexthal said, his skin now a deep red that Sarah had never seen before. In the wrong hands, quantum mirror technology can be used to duplicate weapons, create armies, or destabilize entire planetary ecosystems. My people have seen what happens when dangerous technology spreads too quickly. Sarah felt a chill at the implications, but her scientific mind was still racing. The safeguards you've built in are impressive, but they're also what's limiting your efficiency. The quantum mirror can only create objects up to about 2 meters in diameter before the field destabilizes. That limitation is intentional, Koltar said firmly, and non-negotiable. But it doesn't have to be a limitation, Sarah pressed. If you modified the field harmonics, created a cascade resonance system, you could maintain stability across much larger areas while still preventing unauthorized duplication of dangerous items. You could build in recognition protocols, quantum signatures that identify and block certain types of matter. Marcus was nodding along with her explanation. Like a quantum firewall. The system could recognize weapon signatures, biological hazards, anything dangerous, and simply refuse to duplicate them. Vexthal and Koltar exchanged what Sarah was certain was a heated discussion in their high-frequency language. Finally, Vexthal turned back to the humans. Your suggestions are intriguing, he admitted. But implementing such modifications would require a complete reconstruction of the quantum matrix. The computational requirements alone would take our systems months to process. Sarah grinned. The expression that Marcus had learned meant she was about to do something brilliant and possibly reckless. Maybe your systems, but human computers are built differently. We don't rely on perfect crystalline matrices. We use chaos-based, processing quantum superposition states maintained in deliberately imperfect systems. It's messier, but it's also more flexible. She was already connecting her tablet to the quantum mirror's control system, her fingers flying over the interface, as she began implementing her modifications. Marcus, I'm going to need you to reroute power through the secondary coupling. We're going to need about 40% more energy for the initial recalibration. Sarah, Marcus warned, maybe we should think about this first. We're talking about fundamentally altering alien technology we barely understand. But Sarah was already deep in the zone that her colleagues had dubbed Chen space, where complex physics problems became as simple as rearranging furniture. "Trust me," she said, not looking up from her work. "I know what I'm doing." Across the laboratory, Koltar was speaking rapidly to Vexthul. "The humans are modifying the quantum matrix without authorization. This could destabilize the entire system." "Yes," Vexthul replied, his skin cycling through colors of fascination and apprehension. "It could, or it could solve problems we have been struggling with for decades." He paused, watching Sarah work with what could only be described as elegant efficiency. "Perhaps it is time to discover what these humans are truly capable of." The quantum mirror began to hum with a different frequency, its surface rippling with new patterns of light and energy. Sarah stepped back, wiping sweat from her forehead. "There," she said. "The basic framework is in place. Now we just need to test it." The mirror's surface shimmered, and suddenly the laboratory was filled with the sound of Zephyrian alarm calls. The impossible achievement. The quantum mirror's surface had gone completely black, a void that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Vexthul was frantically working at his control station, his crystalline skin flashing brilliant red in what Sarah now recognized as panic. "The quantum matrix is destabilizing," he announced, his usually calm demeanor cracking. "Human modifications have created cascade failure. We must evacuate immediately." "Wait," Sarah said, studying her tablet readings. "It's not failing, it's reorganizing. The quantum field is finding a new equilibrium state." She looked up at the mirror's black surface, her scientific intuition telling her something extraordinary was about to happen. "Give it 30 seconds. 30 seconds for the field to collapse and potentially tear a hole in space-time," Koltar said grimly, his hand moving to what Sarah assumed was some kind of emergency shutdown control. "Or 30 seconds for it to stabilize in a configuration. That's never been achieved before," Sarah countered. "Marcus, are you getting the same readings I am?" Marcus was bent over his own scanner, his face creased in concentration. "Power draw is actually decreasing, but quantum coherence is increasing exponentially. Sarah, I think you might have actually done it." The mirror's surface suddenly cleared, but instead of the rippling, water-like effect from before, it now showed a perfectly stable reflection of the laboratory. More than that, Sarah could see depth in the reflection that shouldn't have been possible, as if the mirror was showing not just the surface appearance of objects, but their entire three-dimensional structure. "Quantum field stabilization achieved," Vexthul announced, his skin cycling rapidly through colors of amazement. "But this is impossible. The harmonic resonance patterns are completely different from anything in our theoretical models." Sarah was already running diagnostics on the new configuration. "That's because we're not using pure harmonic resonance anymore. The modifications created a hybrid system that combines your quantum field manipulation with human-style chaos processing. Instead of maintaining perfect order across the entire field, the system allows for controlled imperfections that actually increase overall stability." To demonstrate, she gestured toward one of the larger pieces of laboratory equipment, a massive, crystalline analyzer that had been far too big for the original quantum mirror to duplicate. "Want to see what we can do now?" Before Vexthul could object, Sarah activated the mirror. The surface shimmered, and a perfect copy of the analyzer began materializing in the empty space beside the original. But this time, instead of the field destabilizing after a few seconds, the duplication process continued smoothly until a complete, functional duplicate sat beside the original. "Impossible," Koltar whispered, his usual stoic demeanor forgotten. "The quantum field matrix cannot maintain coherence across objects of that size." "It couldn't before," Marcus said with a grin. But Sarah's modifications created what she calls quantum error correction. The system automatically compensates for small deviations and instabilities, allowing it to maintain coherence across much larger volumes. Vexthul approached the duplicated analyzer with scientific skepticism, running his own scans to verify its authenticity. Molecular structure is identical. Quantum signatures match perfectly. This should not be possible with the power levels we are using. That's the beauty of chaos-based processing, Sarah explained. Instead of fighting quantum uncertainty, we work with it. The system uses the natural randomness of quantum fluctuations to maintain stability, like how a spinning top stays upright by constantly making tiny adjustments. She pulled up a holographic display showing the quantum field patterns. Look at this. Your original design tried to maintain perfect mathematical precision across the entire field. But quantum mechanics is inherently uncertain. By introducing controlled chaos, we can actually achieve better results with less energy. Coulthard was studying the power consumption readings with obvious disbelief. Energy requirements have decreased by 60%, while capability has increased by orders of magnitude. How is this possible? Human technology isn't based on perfection, Marcus explained. Our computers work by harnessing randomness and uncertainty. Our engines work despite friction and inefficiency. We've gotten really good at making imperfect systems work better than perfect ones. Vexthal's skin was now cycling through colors Sarah had never seen before, patterns that seemed to indicate deep philosophical consideration. For 3 centuries, Zephyrian science has pursued absolute precision, perfect mathematical harmony. But you humans have achieved superior results by embracing imperfection. Not embracing it exactly, Sarah corrected. More like accepting that imperfection is part of how the universe works and finding ways to use that fact instead of fighting against it. She moved to the quantum mirror's control interface, her modifications having integrated human-style controls alongside the Zephyrian systems. Want to see what else we can do? This time, instead of duplicating existing objects, Sarah began creating something entirely new. The mirror's surface showed a design that was part human engineering, part Zephyrian crystal tech, and entirely unlike anything either species had built before. A hybrid quantum processor, she explained as the device materialized. It combines Zephyrian crystalline precision with human chaos-based processing. Theoretical computational power should be about 50 times what either of our systems can achieve alone. Marcus was already connecting diagnostic equipment to the new processor. Sarah, this is incredible. Response time is practically instantaneous, and the processing architecture is unlike anything I've ever seen. Because it's not just combining our technologies, Sarah said, her eyes bright with the thrill of discovery. It's creating something entirely new. The quantum mirror doesn't just duplicate matter, it can recombine it, improve it, optimize it in ways that neither species could achieve alone. Vexthal and Coulthard were having another rapid conversation in their high-frequency language. Finally, Vexthal turned to the humans. "We owe you an apology," he said formally. "We believed humans were a primitive species, capable only of crude engineering and simple problem-solving. We were wrong." "Not wrong exactly," Sarah said diplomatically. "Just incomplete. Humans and Zephyrians think about problems differently. You seek perfect solutions. We seek solutions that work. Neither approach is wrong, but combined, they're incredibly powerful." Coulthard stepped forward, his armor's cloaking field deactivating completely for the first time since Sarah had met him. The Zephyrian Council classified quantum mirror technology as too dangerous for joint research. But what you have accomplished here proves that restriction was based on fear, not wisdom. Fear isn't always wrong, Marcus pointed out. This technology could be dangerous in the wrong hands, but that's exactly why our species should be working on it together. Human adaptability combined with Zephyrian wisdom could create safeguards that neither of us could develop alone. Sarah nodded, already envisioning the possibilities. Imagine what we could accomplish. Medical technology that could cure diseases by restructuring them at the molecular level. Construction techniques that could build entire space stations in hours instead of years. Food production systems that could eliminate hunger on any world. And weapons systems that could destroy entire fleets, Coulthard added grimly. Which is why we build the safeguards first, Sarah said firmly. The quantum recognition protocols I mentioned earlier could be hardwired into the basic operating system. The mirror could be physically incapable of duplicating dangerous materials or designs. Vexthal was studying the hybrid processor. his scientific curiosity clearly warring with centuries of ingrained caution. The applications are extraordinary, he admitted, but the risks are manageable if we work together, Sarah finished. Human innovation tempered by Zephyrian wisdom, Zephyrian precision enhanced by human adaptability. Marcus was already sketching plans for additional modifications. We could create an entire network of quantum mirrors, each one specialized for different applications. Medical units, construction units, research units, all connected through quantum entanglement for instant communication and coordination. A quantum infrastructure that spans the galaxy, Vexthul mused, his skin cycling through colors of wonder. Instant communication, instant construction, instant adaptation to any challenge. But only if we do it right, Sarah emphasized. And we can't do it right unless both our species are involved every step of the way. Koltar looked around the laboratory, taking in the impossible achievements of the last few hours. I will need to report this to the Zephyrian Council immediately. The classification of quantum mirror technology will need to be completely reconsidered. And I'll need to contact Earth, Sarah added. This is going to change everything about how our species interact. As the two humans and two Zephyrians began planning humanity's first true technological partnership with an alien species, the quantum mirror continued to hum softly in the background. Its surface showed not reflections of the present, but possibilities of the future. Vast space habitats constructed in days, medical miracles that seemed like magic, and two species working together to unlock the secrets of the universe itself. The mirror had shown them something more valuable than any technology. It had shown them what they could accomplish together. In the weeks that followed, as news of the breakthrough spread through both human and Zephyrian space, Sarah often returned to that moment of realization. The quantum mirror hadn't just duplicated matter. It had duplicated possibilities, showing both species a reflection of what they could become when they stopped being afraid of each other's differences and started celebrating them instead. The universe, it turned out, was much more interesting when you had friends to explore it with.